precipitation followed by cold, chilly winds. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
She let us know that her son, James Ravon, is in recovery currently and is doing very well. She gives the glory to God, and we just want him to know that he is not alone and that we are pulling for him. It's always good to hear stories of recovery.
Yes. Today we will have a special guest who will be sharing her journey through breast cancer, the loss of a son, and starting a nonprofit organization called Pink Sisters. Welcome, Deb Hart.
Hey, thanks so much.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for being with us today.
You're so welcome. I'm super excited to share my story and also get to know you girls a little bit. We've been talking on the phone and texting for some time now. So I'm excited. Thanks.
Yeah, it's awesome. Do you want to start off with your story, probably with the beginning with your son, Casey?
Sure. So in 2006, I lost my son, Casey. He was in Anchorage, Alaska, working for Manson Construction on a tugboat. He had just received his credentials to be a captain on a tugboat. And he grew up in Stevenson, Washington, and has been a part of the Columbia River all of his life. His dad had a tugboat company, and he was groomed to be a tugboat captain, and Casey was only 22 years old. Mm-hmm. And people ask all the time, what happened? Well, we don't really know what happened. We did hire investigators. There was an insurance investigation also with Manson Construction, their company. But two autopsies, one in Anchorage and one in Portland, both say the same thing, and it was inclusive. Mm-hmm. So there's really no reason that they could come up with. And, you know, when you are certified with the Coast Guard with a tonnage license, you have to go for a physical, and it's very, very thorough. I mean, for example, you can't even have color blindness.
Right.
Because most tugboat captains have to read the range lights, and they're red, and they're amber, and they're green. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Casey checked out perfect. Mm-hmm. So the nightmare phone call really put me into a huge tailspin. And then 7 months later, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so my life really became anger, kicked a lot of friends and family to the curb, just really didn't know how I was ever going to get my life back on track. Had never had any mental health issues before, but quickly mental health set in. And what I mean by that is you just don't think you can live without your kids. And anyone on this show tonight, if you just take 1 minute and think about the possibility of one of your children being gone, you'll know exactly what I mean.
Right.
And so for me, I had no idea how I was ever going to get my life back on track. Mm-hmm. During my breast cancer treatment, 26 rounds of chemo, had my breast removed, had implants put in, had a lot of inspections, a lot of difficulty with breast cancer. During that time, my oncologist called me one day and she said, "Oh my gosh, Deb, I met this amazing lady and she lost her daughter and she went on this grief trip." And I said, "Grief trip?" And she said, "Yeah, with other moms who had lost a child." She gave me the information. I quickly got on the internet, and their next trip of 9 moms who had lost a child was going to Greece. So I hopped right on that adventure. It was a catamaran, huge catamaran with staterooms, and it was in the Mediterranean Sea. It was 10 of us, moms who had lost a child, and I couldn't even imagine what that would be like. But I knew that there should be or could be some insight of how these women got their lives back on track.
Yes.
On one day when I was walking up the beach, it was my turn to that evening share Cathys' story, and it didn't have to be about the death part. It could be about the amazing person that he was. And I was walking up the beach, and as I got around this corner, there was a glimpse to the sand, and I thought, oh my gosh, what is that? And I got closer and closer, and I reached my hands down in that sand and pulled up thousands of pieces of glass, sea glass.
Wow.
That's
And
amazing.
I had it in my hand, and I said to myself, there it is. It's so profound.
Yeah.
In the beginning, when Casey died, that grief was so razor sharp, oh my gosh. It would have cut my hands in thousands of pieces. But over time, the Mediterranean Sea had tumbled that glass over and over and over again. And it was perfectly, in my view, in my hand, that time does heal.
Yeah.
It does heal. And that was one of my biggest pet peeves, is when people would say, oh, time will heal. And I would quickly rear back and say, what do you know about time? Have you lost a child?
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't. Well, then why are you telling me that time's going to heal? There's some other pet peeves, too, like he's in a better place. No, at 22 years old, you can't convince the mom that he's in a better place. But on that trip, I was so validated for no more texts, no more memories, no more pictures, no more nothing. The only memories that are going to be about Casey are the ones that the mom and the dad totally bring back up and share with other people to keep him alive. But most people are very uncomfortable with that.
Yeah.
They don't know what to say, they don't know what to do, they change the subject quickly because it's uncomfortable.
That's unfortunate.
But when I got home from Greece, I knew exactly what I was going to do. And that was not help moms who'd lost a child. Oh no, way too painful. Could not facilitate that grief out there on that table of maybe 5, 6 people. Just couldn't do it. But my story is also about breast cancer. And so I pulled my friends back in, had to, apologize a lot for my behavior of, not knowing how to do grief. Therefore, I just did it the best I could, and it was pretty lonely because I was alone because I'd kicked all my friends to the curb.
Mm-hmm.
But my friends were really excited to see me come alive, and that's how Pink Sisters got started.
That's awesome.
So originally we started up on a lake up above the Dalles, Oregon, and it was up in Pine Hollow, and bought a big, huge house and up on the lake, and I did retreats up there probably for, I'd say, 3 years, and I had been on a floating home on the Columbia River, in a small floating home. Loved it, and the water continued to heal me with Casey's death, and a big, huge house came available at the marina that my house was in, called Big Eddie, and so I purchased that big, huge house for retreats on the Columbia River. So we did retreats in my big, huge floating home, and what I mean by that is this floating home, some people think of a boathouse. Well, that's one thing, but this is 2,800 square feet of home.
Wow.
So it was big, and we had 10 guests. They came on Friday, and they went home on Sunday, and I did all the cooking. We had a jewelry maker come in, and she taught them, it's a jewelry making skills, and then they got to take home a special piece to commemorate the weekend. And we had a yoga teacher, and she would come and coach them in the beginning yoga that they could take home with them and hopefully practice. And we had paddleboard experts, we had kayak experts, we even had a chef on occasion who would come in and teach them healthy eating. And this was all free and still is. All of our retreats are always free. And how we can do this is by lots and lots and lots of fundraising back then. Well, COVID hit.
Yeah.
So that was a huge pivot for me, and I really didn't know how it was going to work, and I didn't really know what we were going to do to pivot. But we had to sponsor car dealership, Weston Kia, in our community, and Jan Weston has really mentored me a lot and helped me understand the nonprofit world. And I called up Jan one day and I said, Jan, can I come in and chat with you? And I just don't even know how I'm going to get this pivoted. I'm just not sure what to do. And Deb, yeah, come in, and we'll talk about it. And we did. And it was perfectly clear. We were going to do day retreats. Our guests were going to come at 11 and go home at 3. And I was going to teach them paddleboarding and kayaking. We would go out on a party barge boat ride that Jan Weston donated to us like 4 years prior, and have lunch, and then they would be able to share the short version of their story. So that's what we've been doing the past 2 years. No cost day retreats for women who've gone through breast cancer. Now, this can be the lumpectomy, this can be stage 0, this could be a BRCA with the gene, the mutation gene that women are having show up from previous family members who've been through breast cancer, preventative. This can be stage 4 terminal. It can be whatever a collective group of women who sign up for a retreat. So this year, like last year, we will do 22 retreats. All of them are during the week because we sent out a survey, and women said this: we don't want to come on the weekends because we'd like to spend more time with our family after so many doctor's appointments. We would rather take off work to come to a retreat than to take off time on the weekend. So that's what we've been doing the past 2 years. Last year we had 87 women come to our retreat. That is 22 retreats, just the same as what we're going to have this year. And, pandemic or no pandemic, women are still being diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yes.
Every day, every hour, every minute.
Yep.
It has not gone away.
That's right, yeah.
So we are gearing up for our retreat for 2022 and super excited about doing what we are doing. We have a lot of nonprofits here in Portland. We all are a community. Everyone has their niche. And, we do one thing and one thing only, and we do it exceptionally well, and that is do retreats. And what these retreats are all about is leaving cancer on the bank and coming and having fun, floating on the Columbia River in a big, huge pink flamingo or a sparkly tube, trying paddleboarding, trying kayaking, and interacting, common denominator, all women who've gone through breast cancer.
That's amazing.
And there's always time to share their story. But most of all, the common denominator, these women have a language of their own. And with breast cancer, there are side effects forever. ever and ever and ever. We have been altered. Our bodies have been altered. And I say there's so much grief with breast cancer. Just the same as grief of a loss of a job, a pet, a family member. I can go on and on and on with grief.
Right.
But I consider myself kind of the grief queen, because when people ask me what my story is, well, everybody has a story. Your daughter has a story, and you have a story, Michelle.
Right.
But my story is the loss of Cathys. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, there's not a day, not a minute, not an hour that doesn't go by that I don't think about him. And my journey has been everything I do, including sharing his story. Thank you so much for letting me share my story today.
Thank you
Continue
for
to heal
sharing.
me.
Yes.
Yeah, we thank you.
to heal me.
We appreciate you sharing your story and everything that you do for these women. It's an important story to be told. We really do appreciate you. I'm wondering if you can tell us your favorite memory of Casey.
Well, this is a really cute story. When Casey was heading off to Anchorage, he his dad brought him. We met in a certain location, and then I had my car, and we were moving all of his stuff into my car. And I said, "What are all these long poles in these cases?" And he goes, "Mom, they're fishing poles." I go, "Dear God, why does anyone need 6?" And he says, "Dear God, why does a woman need 80 pairs of shoes and 80 handbags?"
That's great. That's great.
Nailed it.
He came right
Nailed
back.
it.
That's
So,
great. I love
yeah.
it. That's great. Motherly
He
son.
was, yeah, another great story that I love to tell about him, too, is we were in Mazatlan, Mexico, and he was laying on the beach, and I was all relaxed. And he was one of those kids that would say, "Mom, yeah, what? Mom, what? Mom?" And I would say, "What?" And he'd say, "Are you going to the show?" And I go, "What show?" And I look over at him as if I'd missed something, and his arms are all curled up, and he goes, "The gun show."
Yep, the gun show. I love it.
Aw.
Typical boy, all boy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was quite the hunter and fisherman, and that's why he wanted to go to Anchorage. No women really to speak of. He, of course, was interested in women, but his career was really important to him.
Right.
And he knew he was going to be gone for 7 months. So, yeah.
How do you feel about us opening it up to callers in case anybody wants to call in and ask questions about your organization or about Casey or about...
Sure.
Okay. If anyone wants to call in, the local call-in number is 909-792-5222. And the non-local toll-free call-in number is 888-909-1050. So if you want to call in, please do feel free to. And I had a question for you, Deb. I noticed on your Facebook you have auctions. Can you tell us what that's about?
Well, in order to do retreats, and we're going to do 22 and 87 women, in order for them to
wow.
come for free, we have to come up with big, huge sponsors like Fred Meyer, Kroger, have been huge sponsor for us.
That's
I can go on and
awesome.
on and on, and that's on our website, including Jan Weston Kia, the Weston family. They, of course, write checks every year, but there's also some other parts to this that, and especially with gas, the way it is,
Oh, yeah.
we're going to need a little extra money this year just to run our boat.
Mhm.
So right now we have a Facebook auction going on, and it's in a private form, but yes, anyone could contact me on Facebook, and I could give them the link. In fact, I actually sent the link to Lissa, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so we have some major items like hotel stays and boating experiences and a fishing trip coming up. And oh my gosh, okay, so this is the highlight of the past 2 years. This one auction item is Pipe Hitters, a motorcycle club here in Portland. Every year donate 10 rides. So women get on the back of a Harley Davidson. They take this trip through the Columbia River Gorge. We have lunch.
Nice.
It's like no other experience. And last year, those rides went for $250.
That sounds like so
Awesome.
much fun.
I know. We have to really be creative with fundraising, because the days of us doing a silent auction, live auction, 250 guests, a dance, food, and music, nope. Them days have been over for the past 2 years.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
COVID. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
affected it. Yeah.
So, we had to be creative, and this way really worked well. And I saw that you put the Christmas ship boat on the post that you posted on Facebook.
Yes.
And let me tell you a little bit about that. We have the Sextant Restaurant, Bar and Grill on the Columbia River, down Marine Drive, and our friend Tracy has a huge sailboat. And about 7 years ago, I created the ribbon, and Tracy put it on his sailboat. And every year, that is a huge fundraiser for us also. We get to go to the Sextant Restaurant. Only 50 guests get to come, but man, we have raffle prizes like you can't even believe. Yeti coolers. I mean,
Oh, those are
really,
those are
really
expensive.
good stuff.
I'm at a loss.
And
The
we
Yeti
make
coolers?
a lot of money at
At a
that
loss.
too. Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
those are great coolers. Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. I wonder, can you tell us a little bit about how you think that losing Casey had affected you, and as far as wanting to start the organization, and as far as like feeling the need to give back to women, and what the difference is between like I guess giving and then receiving. We talked a little bit about that when we were on the phone, and I felt like like it was a really good connection that you and I had regarding that. Do you recall that?
I do. And that's something that I share often. In my lifetime, I've been very fortunate. And I believe, I was a giver to some extent. I was the PTA president. I was school board. I did a lot of community things, always active on the soccer field with, Casey and that kind of stuff. But I can tell you this for sure, that when Casey died, I could not write a check to bring him back.
Yeah.
And it leveled me. I mean, down to my knees kind of level. And I realized quickly that Gucci bag that I couldn't hardly wait to get a hold of, the trip to Nordstrom's, the BMW, the bigger, better vacation every year, the nicer house, the nicer this, the better that. None of us are taking that in a U-Haul to the next location.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
I believe in God. So my next location will be in heaven.
Amen.
Yep.
But I'm
Amen.
telling you right now, none of us are taking any of it.
Yep.
And so, from my heart, our nonprofit is a unique nonprofit. And this is really important for your viewers to hear. I'm the founder, I'm the director, but all of our board members, including myself, are volunteers. All of our money that we raise and fundraise goes back into our women. Last year, 87 women received the opportunity to come and have fun on the Columbia River and forget about breast cancer.
Awesome.
It's amazing.
So that's what we do. Yeah. And there are a lot of nonprofits out there, and I'm going to say this extremely loud and clear. Think before you pink. Think before you write that donation check. Think before you Venmo that nonprofit. And it's perfectly clear on our Facebook page. It's perfectly clear on my page. We have a pro bono CPA who does all of our bookkeeping. We have a pro bono attorney who looks over all of our stuff. We have a pro bono HR person so Deb doesn't get herself into trouble.
Right? Yeah. No one likes that.
No one likes that. Yeah.
No,
So.
that's awesome. Can I ask you a little bit about your breast cancer and how did you come to how did you find out that you had it, and how old were you?
Well, I was 50, and I can tell you that one day, in a very depressed state of mind after Casey had died, I looked on the calendar, and it said mammogram pap smear. And, I was not in very good mental state of mind. In fact, I can tell you exactly what I was thinking when I looked at that, and tell you that I was thinking, that I was hoping that if anything was going to go bad, maybe, just maybe, I could die and be with my son.
Yeah.
Anything. Because I'm telling you, that's where I was at.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because I hadn't had my nails done, my hair highlighted, haircut. I'm not kidding you. I checked out for 3 years. I checked out. But on that day, 7 months after Casey had died, it was on that calendar. And for some reason, I went to that appointment. And I had lobular breast cancer, which is the tunneling kind. So it was everywhere, these little tiny spots, not tumors, little tiny spots all over my chest, inside, around my chest bone. And the doctor just looked at me, and she said, "Oh, Deb, we're going to have to get a ultrasound, and I want you to go to a different company and get a 3D mammogram." And so I did, and just the look on her face, she came in and she said, "And we want to do a biopsy now too." I said, "You think I got breast cancer, don't you?" And she goes, "I'm just not willing to say that yet." And I said, "Bring it on. Bring it on."
Yeah.
I just, and boy, talk about the worst patient ever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I went to probably, I'd say 6 different oncologists. And they're so clinical. They know a lot about chemo. But I'd call them out, and here's what I'd say. You know what? I'm going to be your worst patient, your biggest nightmare ever, because I just lost my son, and my mental health is absolutely taking me over. Do you know anything about mental health? And they would kind of go, "Oh my God, we got a Looney Tune on." The look on their face. I'm not kidding you guys. I'm not kidding you.
And you sound so sweet.
Well, back then I wasn't.
I imagine.
Understandable.
I believe you.
So
And
much
I understand.
pain.
I understand. Yeah.
And it was, And finally, after 6 different oncologists, I found Dr. Webster, and loved her. She had fought the battle twice. She was a breast cancer survivor 2 times.
And that must be what you needed at that point, right?
You know what? And here's what she said to me, Deb. I'm going to take you right underneath my arm, and I'm going to do medicine different than any other oncologist. I hear you. I hear your loss. I will be very sensitive to your loss. There were times when she would call. I wouldn't answer the phone. She'd text me and she'd say, "Pick up the phone. I'm calling now."
It's
and she and I are friends to this day.
it's
She
different.
tells funny stories about me.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's different when you have a doctor who actually cares and shows that they care. It just makes that much of a difference when there's somebody that actually puts themselves in your shoes and helps you out and pushes you a little bit.
Well, then they
Yep.
can. Once you know that they care, then they can push you a little bit because I
Yep.
think,
You trust them.
yeah, you
Right.
trust them. Yeah, first thing, even as a parent or an educator, you have to show the student or the person, your child, that you care about them first before you start, throwing discipline out there or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, because people need to know that you
Right.
care.
Right.
You know, something else that I learned in counseling, and I think this is really important for your viewers to hear from me too, is I've done a lot of counseling through Cathys death, and my tool chest is just packed full, you guys. I mean, packed full. And
That's
on
good.
occasion, I have to go back to my counselor, and I love her. Oh my gosh. Found her right out of the gate, never left my side. It's been 15 years since Cathys been gone. But this is the first thing I actually learned from her, and it had to have been 2 weeks right after Casey had died. And here's what she told me. And you both are going to get this. The deepest love is the love that a mother has for her child.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very
Period.
true. Mm-hmm. That's very true.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yep.
that's so true, and that is how we feel. And we put so much of our energy and our time and our love into our children that I can't even imagine losing them. You know,
Yep.
I can't even imagine that.
Therefore, the pain is the deepest. It's the deepest pain.
Yes.
And there are some parents who just can't get past the pain, and they get stuck along the way. They just get stuck. They can't figure out how to go forward. And I am telling you, I am so grateful that I have been able to go from devastation right on over here to inspiration, helping other women.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, it's my calling. I had no idea. It's my calling. I love it.
That's the
And I've
wonderful
lost
thing.
3 women this year.
Oh.
3 women who were fighters to the bitter end, and I mean did every bit of chemo. 2, 3 times that stupid cancer would darken their door again. And I mean fighters, super fighters,
Right.
just my superhero warriors.
A
And
shero.
I'm telling you, in the line of business I'm in, I fall in love with these women. I fall in love with them.
And that's got to be hard on you. I mean, you're really taking on. You're getting so much back. I get, but it's got to be hard
Yes,
to
I
lose your loved ones and your friends, people that you're helping them out and you're supporting them, and then you lose them. It's got to be hard, but it must also be so rewarding as well.
It is. It is. You know, to meet these women and stay in touch with these women, like I said, we don't do support groups. We don't. But I'm telling you what, once these women come to a retreat, they tell the world about the retreat. And we don't need referrals from hospitals, doctors. We don't need any of that. We had a wait list this year, 32 guests on the wait list
That's
from last year.
awesome.
So, you know, I mean, these women are so dedicated to the program that we do, and they understand we, the board of directors, do not get paid. They understand that every bit of the money goes back to the program. And they're so appreciative of a no-cost, super fun day, just a super fun day. You can look back through or go to our website and see all the happy, fun smiles of, you know, floating in a pink flamingo to learning to paddleboard for the very first time. And, you know, what I love is we have 10 eclectic women who come down, all sizes, all shapes, and the first out of the gate, I say, okay, who's going to paddleboard? I got 3 paddleboards. I'm going to coach paddleboarding. Come on over. And everyone kind of stands back and they, oh, I don't know. and I say, okay, well, paddleboarding to me means sitting on it and paddling, or on your knees and paddling, or standing. And everyone has an excuse. Oh, I don't have good balance. Oh, my knees hurt. Oh. And you know what, you guys? It only takes one success, and there's always one. I can't tell you a retreat that there hasn't been didn't try it. And the rest of the group goes wild, and they say, I'm not leaving here till I paddleboard.
I love that, and I love that you brought it up, because I thought about bringing it up myself, because I thought, am I too fat to paddleboard? I mean, how did you? I literally thought that, like, how does this work? You have to be really athletic.
No,
you don't.
No, you don't.
That's great. What about kayaking? How's that? How is that?
Oh yeah, kayaking. We have a Pink Phoenix group of ladies that's all nonprofit on the Columbia and also on the Willamette River. Not far. The Columbia goes right into the Willamette. But it's called the Pink Phoenix, and they are paddlers, and that's all they do. They go to races, and yeah.
That looks like so much fun to me.
A lot of women have been watching that, and they're at a lot of different events when we were doing events and having communication opportunities for education for our women. And it's great for your arms and the mobility in your arms and lymphedema and all of that.
What is lymphedema?
So kayaking in the marina where I coach, it's real easy. It's real simple. You're not going to, I think, I'll give you one example. Last year we had one person go in the river of 87 women.
Falling.
So paddleboards are really sturdy. I've got the biggest, best, sturdiest ones that money can buy. And then we have the best kayaks ever, too. And, they're good. They don't tip.
Now tell sorry.
So, and of course, they always wear their life preservers. That's very important.
Safety first.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, definitely. Can you tell us about your books? Because I really didn't know you had some books until today, and I'm kind of curious to hear. It looks like you have another one coming out soon, your third one.
We do. So 3 years ago, scrambling again for fundraising, we decided that we were going to put it out there on our page and see if there was anyone who wanted to share the story. Well, it was overwhelming. We had, I believe, 9 women in the first waves of Pink book. And great opportunity for these women to share their story. We sold quite a few on Amazon. And, it was a fairly good fundraiser. And then the second year we said, we got to do this again because there were too many women that wanted to do it the first time around. And so we did a second book, and I think it has 8, maybe 10 women in that second book, Waves of Pink 2. And then the third book. Well, the third book is going to be published probably the end of April. And I'm marketing this book in a very, very large way, and I can't share with you who I'm marketing to yet. But I'm hoping that it will go in 385 stores for the month of October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's the purpose of the book. And boy, we have 27 authors who are sharing their stories.
Wow.
And it's just been a huge success. And I think it's been another healing step for all these women who write well and wanted to journal and turn their journal into, their personal story. So that book is in the making. Stories are in the book format. We're putting together intros. We're putting together the back page. And our artist, Michael McCartney, oh my gosh, we love him. He has done nothing but fabulous art for us for the past 3 years. And, Fred Meyer has sponsored our book, and Jan Weston at Weston has sponsored our book. So we've had really, again, I just can't tell you about how amazing our sponsors are. And I'm also going to give myself just a little pat on the back and say I've done a really good job with relationships.
Yeah.
I didn't walk through their door and ask them for money and leave and never see them again and then send them an email. I don't do business that way.
Good.
I have kept them in the loop every single retreat that we have. I send them the pictures.
I bet they love that.
They're like, we just love what you're doing, Deb Hart. So, and again, it reminds them, we're spending your money wisely.
Right.
Yes.
This is it right here. 10 women right here.
Right.
All had breast cancer, and some
All
of them
real
still
people.
have it. Yes,
Mhm.
real people. There it is. There's the key phrase,
Yep.
real people.
I like the picture too with the men in pink. Real men wear pink. I think it was the caption.
Yes, that's our calendar, and that's another thing that we kind of had to be creative with. We had done a calendar for women, probably 5 years. But here's the deal with women. We have low self-esteem sometimes,
Yes.
and we hate our pictures. We just hate them.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? There were women who would back out the week before the photo shoot.
Yeah.
There were women who wouldn't even show up to the photo shoot. There were women who cried once the photographer chose the picture that
Sad.
he chose to put in the calendar. And so one night, in the middle of the night, I woke up and I said, oh my gosh, here it is. Real men wear pink photo shoots for our calendar.
I love it.
And this is our 3rd year. And I'll tell you what, those guys, they show up. They got the golf club. This year we're going to the beach.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
When I say beach, it's just across from the marina in our party barge boat. And yeah, the golfer, he can bring his club and act like he's hitting the ball on the beach. We've got the paddle boards and kayaks, and we'll do all that right there on the river this year. So that's another fundraiser. Thank you, Fred Meyer, for doing all of the printing of the calendars. They print 250 calendars for us at no cost.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's so
Yep,
great.
and we sell them for $20. So, and they go fast. They go really fast.
I love it. Yeah, that's great. Men don't have that same issue with their confidence as women do. So I can picture it. They're just out there strutting their stuff. I love it. That's great.
Oh man,
I wish that
they
women could be a little more confident. I wish we could. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, and I think self-esteem building is something that you would consider our nonprofits also do. It takes a lot of guts to walk down the ramp in a swimsuit cover-up or whatever you're going to paddleboard and kayak and be in for the day. And we've got swimsuits. We've got women who show up in yoga pants. We don't care. We don't care. Come as you are, because we're going to accept you right where you are.
Yes.
That's awesome.
We don't care. It's fine.
Yeah, that's great.
So do you believe in signs? Signs from your loved ones that have passed, or signs from God?
People have asked me that before. Pennies for heaven, and nope, never seen one. Lights flickering, nope, I haven't experienced it. I can tell you that right after Casey died, I would have dreams of him as a small child, but nothing, in junior high or high school or out of high school.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I do believe in signs because I haven't experienced it.
What
Right.
about the glass?
But
The glass. Do you think that was a sign, perhaps?
The sea glass?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely that was a sign. definitely that was a sign.
Before we came into the studio, there was a goose right out front in the parking lot, and I just felt like it was some kind of a sign for you.
Yeah, we saw a huge goose, and it's like we're in the
It was
city,
just
so
standing
it's like,
there
where's
on the
this goose come
street,
from?
just walking around us.
Yeah, and that's how Alyssa took it to be a sign. I'm like, I don't know, but there was a beautiful goose. She tried to feed it. She's an animal lover, so she tried to feed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was interesting for sure. That was kind of cool. So,
Well, that's cute.
so out of
All right,
everything,
we'll say it was a sign.
it,
Casey,
perhaps,
what are you doing?
right? Well, and you know what? You and I just talking and being in contact. I loved that. We have someone in our life who lost her son recently. And when I told you, you were immediately just available to call her and talk to her. And she so appreciated that. And I just want to say thank you. And I feel like, people are brought into your life at a time for a certain reason. And I feel like that was a big part of the reason, too, that we got in touch, not just for this show, but also that you could help her and lift her up in her time of need, because she just lost her son recently. And I know she so
Right.
appreciated that you called her. And she told me. So I appreciate you, and I thank you for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, sometimes it's hard to, if you will, go back there. I have a friend right now who lost his son, and it's fairly new, and he's really suffered a lot. And he writes on Facebook and will write me these very long feelings of how he's feeling. And believe it or not, it just takes me right back to Casey's death, and some of the same things that he's feeling, I recall feeling myself.
Right.
Now, I am going to tell you that moms have different grief than dads.
Yeah.
Dad plays a different role than mom.
Yeah.
So we don't have the same grief. But boy, oh boy, right now my friend Dan, who's going through this really hard loss, he's quite the writer. He writes beautifully. One of the things that he said in a conversation that I had with him, Deb, I don't cry very easy. I've got tears rolling down my face on a daily basis. And I said, Dan, this is not to top you in any way. This is just an analogy. But I'm going to tell you, after Casey died, I hadn't cried very much most of my life. And I was a pretty tough girl. But I had 2 burnt spots that were long and narrow on my cheeks from tears rolling down my face, salty tears. And he said, oh my gosh, Deb, I've got that too right now. I've got it. So there are so many similarities, and I try hard to help when I can, but it does take me back. One of our survivors just passed away 2 weeks ago, and her mom, has been in the picture, and I've been there a lot. I was there when hospice was there, and she sent me a text 2 days ago, and she said, I brought Christy home today. And I'm telling you what, it really did affect me. It put me back right, reminded me of what that day felt like, looked like, smelled like, and where I was at that particular moment. And not to say that I don't want to help, but it does kind of set you back. It reminds you. And then I want to add this part too. then I say to myself, man, Deb, you've come a long way, baby.
That's right.
You've come a long way.
That's right.
You've learned to heal yourself, and you've done a good job. And there's been a lot of people along my journey that have helped me.
But I think
And I
it's
haven't
good to
always
recognize
been nice
that.
in the beginning. I wasn't always nice, you guys.
Right? But it's important, and I'm glad you bring that up. It's important that we recognize that, men and women. But as women, I think we don't give ourselves enough credit. And I think a big part of our journey that really helps us is to look back at where we came from and say, you know what, I did this, and stop saying negative things in your head about, your weight, you're this, you're that, and stop putting so much pressure on yourself. Instead, look back and go, wow, I did a lot of things, and appreciate the little things. And remember, it's the journey. It's not about the destination always. It's about the journey. And in order to feel joy, you have to feel suffering. It's a contrast. So there's suffering, and then there's, how would you even recognize joy if you didn't have some suffering in your life? So we're all going to suffer, but we have to learn how to suffer well. And we have to, figure out what path we're on through that suffering, I guess is what I'm going to try to say.
And how we can help others through it as well, if we decide we want to.
Oh,
yeah.
You guys, the gift of helping someone else, and this is what I had to say to Barb, who just lost Christy, when Christy went on hospice, and Christy was young, not married, no children. And, and I always put myself in that place, because I'm telling you what, no one could tell me anything. Because all I wanted to say is, have you been through the journey? No, you haven't? Well, then shut the hell up.
Woo!
Because you don't know what you're talking about.
That's true.
I'm guaranteeing you don't know how I feel.
Right.
And don't try to compare
We got 2 minutes.
my Casey loss to your pet loss either.
Right? Amen.
Right.
We have 1 minute. Do you want to go ahead and give out your information, Deb?
Absolutely. So I am Deb Hart, and I'm the founder and the director of Pink Sisters. And you can find us at pinksistas.org, and you can find me, Deb Hart, on Facebook, and you can find Pink Sisters on Instagram and also on Facebook.
And Deb Hart is H-A-R-T.
We both
That
were
is
thinking
correct.
that.
Yes.
Awesome. So good to hear from you, Deb. Thank you so much for coming on. And
you're so welcome.
Hopefully we'll talk soon.
It's been a pleasure.
Southern California's KCAA, the #1 talk radio station.